Hi, this is Janne Stark from Grand Design, the guitarist. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Rock on!
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands with your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather. And as always, I'm bringing you guys awesome interviews. Today it is an honor and privilege to have Mr. Janne Stark. He's the guitarist of Grand Design, and they will be releasing their fourth studio album entitled Viva La Paradise. And that will be out on GMR Music. Janne, how's it going, man? And welcome to the show, good sir.
Thank you. It's going good.
Let's jump right into this. First two albums were solely written by your buddy vocalist, and I hope I pronounced his name right, Pele Sather. However, he started letting other members in on the writing process.
It was on the third album, Thrill of the Night, where Pelle started letting other people in. So
once he's doing that, and he's even let you have more reins and stuff. I mean, he actually let you do what? Let's see. Too Late to Fall in Love, Viva La Paradise, It's Only Straight from the Heart, and Rock and Roll Hysteria. Are you surprised he's let more members in on this writing process for this album? And plus, when he did open up to let people in to do this?
yeah, we kind of forced him.
Oh.
On the first two albums, especially on the first album, Grand Design was more like his kind of more or less solo project. That's kind of how it started. With Pelle wanted to do like a tribute to Def Leppard because he thought that Def Leppard weren't as good as they used to be. So he kind of wanted to give the style that they had on Pyromania and Hysteria a new spin, which is why kind of he started the band. So from the beginning, it was he kind of started the project and took in other members. And then at the around the second album, it started kind of more being a band, but he was still like the main guy to write everything. And then on the third album, that's when I've been into the band. And I've been working together with Pelle before. He had a band called Zello, which was like sounded more like Kansas. I played guitar on the third album, and he knows I write a lot of music and stuff. And so I started sending him some riffs and stuff. And on the third album, he figured that he should kind of let the reins go a bit and let other people in. So that's kind of how it started on that album. And then on this new one, he kind of, when we started writing, he said, "Okay, throw me as many riffs and stuff that you have." And he wanted it to be more like a band thing now.
What's impressed you the most about making this new album, Viva La Paradise? What's caught your eye about, if anything, possibly that stands out for you?
The funny thing with the albums is that when we start working on the album, Pelle always have, because we are recording at he has a professional studio called Studio Underground, and he always has a vision of what he wants the album to sound like. And what I was happy about on this album is that we wanted more guitars, louder guitars. So I kind of really jumped at that. So
well, that's good that you guys compromise on things. I mean.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's cool that he'll bounce stuff off you, and then you'll bounce stuff off him, and then come together and say, well, like you just said, more guitar stuff on it. I think, in my own opinion, and I'm not knocking any bands out there, but I think that adding more guitar sound makes the album and song more fuller, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, this album was recorded in the Studio Underground at Pelle's studio there in Sweden. But how is working with him as a producer versus just being a band member? Does he put on the producer hat and say, okay, let's do it this way? Or how do y'all work this out, man?
The funny thing is that I've worked with Pelle before because we were in my old band, Locomotive Breath. Actually, Locomotive Breath. That was the first kind of album that I recorded at a studio. And then he was kind of a producer as well. And he says he really says what he means if you do something and he doesn't like it, he tells you. He's not sugarcoating anything. He's like, what the fuck was that? You can't play like that. That sounds like shit. And so I kind of, and at first I was like kind of thrown. I was like, what are you on about? Who the heck are you to tell me these things? But then once you get to know him, you know that he is that kind of person. He doesn't mean anything like bad. It's just the way that he says it, and he's really just as hard on himself. And that's what I've noticed during the process here as well. And he's, as a producer, he really, because sometimes when I record something, I kind of hear that, I think that this one was good. And he's like, no, I know you can do it a bit better, a little bit better. And then maybe like 2 or 3 more takes. And then I do hear there are minor differences, but I do kind of see what he means. So he's really, he pushes you really hard in the studio, and it's a good thing. But
that's good, though. Yeah, like you said, it's a good thing because you don't want to half-ass a take that you can do a lot more better with. I mean, you know, that's just wasting time. You know what I mean? To everybody.
Oh, yeah. And also, I think that's kind of a problem with some of the bands today. And he notices that. He actually told me that some of the bands that record at his studio, they come in and they record, and the drummers record the drum tracks and says, is this good enough to fix? It's not supposed to be good enough to fix. It's just supposed to be good enough to use.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you can't kind of, and that's what we don't want to do either. Like go in with the mindset that we're gonna do this and then we're gonna edit it to sound good. I mean, we want to do it so it sounds good from the start. So. Not too much doctoring and stuff. I mean, some things, of course, if there's a great like solo or something, is one bum note, we kind of change that. But we try not to mess too much with it, and try to give it a few more takes and do it like close to perfect instead.
Well, here's a quick question since we're talking about this. Since he has his own studio and he sees bands come in a lot. Does he feel like, and you too, do you feel like there's a lot of bands that lack the passion that they should be given into these recording studios? Because you know just as well as I do, unless you have your own recording studio, these studios cost a lot of damn money to book time to record this.
Oh yeah, I remember. I'm old as hell. We started back. My first band. My first real recording band, Overdrive, we were formed back in 1980. And I mean, back then when we went into the studio, we got our first record contract. I mean, it was a 24-track tape, and you couldn't copy, paste, move things around. So you had to be really well prepared to go into the studio and start recording. So I mean, we rehearsed like 2 or 3 days a week. And I don't feel a lot of the bands today have the same commitment. It's like some bands are like, oh, we're going to rehearse? Why? We can fix that in the studio. And I think some younger bands kind of take it for granted that you don't have to rehearse that much. You don't have to like interact with the other musicians that much, and you can just go into the studio and fix it there. And it's I know myself actually. I do that kind of in the way that some of the projects that I record with, I have a band called Constancia as well. We released 2 albums, and we live so far apart that we kind of do that. We send files to each other, and sometimes I miss being in the rehearsal studio and just honing out the stuff together and jamming. And I think a lot of the younger bands kind of miss that as well, and they don't do it. They just send files, and then there's the album is there, and they haven't really done the basic work to do it. I think it's a pity.
How long did it take to record this new album from you guys?
I think it was a bit spread out over time because Pelle had a really bad cold when he was going to start doing the vocals. I think it took about 2.5 months in total, but then I went into the studio for 5 days to record my guitars, and Dennis was there as well recording his guitars. And during that time, we also me and Pelle figured we started talking about doing a bonus track, because the Japanese the record companies always want a bonus track. And so, well, while we were in the studio, Pelle said, I have an idea. Maybe we should try to do a Grand Design version of the Kansas song Fight Fire with Fire. So we kind of started elaborating on that as well, and did an arrangement and kind of recorded the basic stuff as well. And also when Pelle writes the songs, what he does is he programs drums just as for like the demo track, and then the drummer comes in and records the real drums. So there's a bit of preparation before we start recording, but around 2.5 months.
Let's talk about the album artwork. It's really cool from you guys. Who came up with the artwork, and who actually did it for you all?
Actually, the artwork is, we have a guy who did the Carl Bexton, who did the last one, Through the Night, and we wanted to work with him. And I've been doing quite a lot of artwork and stuff as well. And I actually, I got involved with the band before the first album because Pelle called me and said, I got this new band or project, and we described the style and everything, and we don't have a name. So I came up with the name Grand Design, and I actually made the logo as well. And then the album was ready, and he sent me the artwork. Can you come up with the title for this one? So I came up with the Time Elevation. So I was when I did a guest solo on the first album as well. So I was kind of involved from the beginning. But now when we did the new one, Pelle said he's a big fan of Boston, and with the guitar flying in space and stuff. So the guitar on the photo is actually my Flying V. I took the photo of it, and I came up with the basic idea for the cover, and also I got the background photo, and I did the logo. And then Carl Bexton, he kind of put it all together and put the final touches on it, and put a little spaceman in there as well, and he made it look really good.
Are there any songs off the new album, Viva La Paradise, that stand out more to you on it, if possible, Janne? I mean, I know these are like picking your favorite collectible, your favorite piece of art, but is there any song that stands out for you, maybe?
The funny thing is that when you're so kind of involved with the recording and writing and stuff, it kind of goes in waves. So one week is like some tracks that I like better, and the next week it's some other tracks that I like better. But I think it's hard to pick favorites. But I really like "Don't Ice Me Out." I think that's one of my favorites actually, and also "Too Late to Fall in Love."
I know that you said you've had your own band, and plus now you're doing this with Pelle. But how much growth musically have you seen this band and yourself go through up to the release of this new album? Or has it just been a personal growth for each of you guys throughout this?
I think it's been a growth for both for us as musicians and as persons as well, because we've done quite a lot of live gigs together, and that kind of glues us together. But the thing is that for the new album, we have a new bass player and a new drummer, and not to say anything bad, but about our previous bass player, he was a great guy and everything. But the new guy is really really positive, really he says yes to everything. So it's there was some tensions before, and now we're just getting along so well, and we always have a great time when we're out playing, and I think we've grown together more as a band as well on this album. So right now I think this is my favorite lineup of the band, and we're going on a 6-day tour of Spain in September, and we're just looking forward to doing that so much.
I know you've done this for a very long time, but do you do anything differently during the writing and recording process to maybe help keep your mind fresh and open, and to not let the music get stale and not go back down the path that you don't want to go back down and say, I don't want to do that again. I want to try something else differently. What do you do to help you keep your mind open?
Well, the thing is that Grand Design is not my only band. We still have that band Overdrive, which we formed in 1980, and we're still 4 original members of that band, and we released 7 albums. And that's kind of more traditional heavy metal. And I also have the band Constancia, which is more kind of progressive, melodic, hard rock. And I also recently released an album together with an American bass player singer named Neil Merriweather. The project is called Merriweather Stark, and that is more like 70s hard rock. And I also released a bunch of albums with a project called Mountain of Power, which is covers of old obscure 70s hard rock bands like Captain Beyond, Stray Dog Mountain, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I try to, I mean, these are kind of different styles, but I also try to blend in things from other styles into the other bands. So that's even though Grand Design is like sounding a lot like Def Leppard, I try to blend in some other riffs from other genres and try to mix it up a bit as well, but still not go too much outside of the formula, so to speak, but to make it a bit more fun.
I mean, this is going to be a crazy question, but I mean, is there, out of the bands, which one do you prefer possibly? I mean, is all of these pretty much just your alter ego? You know, like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, which one is Janne? Which one is you?
Oh, that's actually a tough question, because I mean, Overdrive is kind of almost tattooed on my arm because it's a part of me. It's been a part of me for so long. While musically, I'd say that Merriweather Stark is actually more who I am style-wise. More like I'm a 70s hard rock guy.
Yeah.
So I think style-wise, I think that Merriweather Stark is more like me.
What can fans expect at a show from Grand Design who have not got to see you guys live as of yet?
They're going to get a lot of enthusiasm. I mean, we are the kind of band that even if there's like 3 people in the audience, we give 110%, and we love to have fun on stage. And there's a lot of, I mean, we're not like serious looking guys or standing still on stage, nailed to the floor and just looking down or something. We love to interact with the audience, and we love to have fun, and we always do small like pranks and stuff on stage, and I'll stick a guitar up Dennis' butt or something. We always have fun on stage, and we want to engage the audience to have fun as well. So they can expect to have fun.
Now, we're living in the digital era, and I know there's pros and cons to each side of this, but do you like the digital era of recording albums and to get music out quicker, and plus social media to reach out to more fans that may not ever heard of you guys possibly? Do you like this?
There's pros and cons. I mean, the positive side is, like I said, that it's easy to get the music out there. It's cheaper to record albums now these days. But I think that, I mean, when I started out, like in the early 80s, a band had to be really good to get a record deal and to get the record out there, and you couldn't really cheat that much in the studio. So sometimes today I get really disappointed when I have bought an album with a band which is awesome, and then I see them live and they suck.
Yeah,
it's a bit almost too easy to make something sound good. You can easily fix stuff to sound better than they actually are, which is kind of disappointing in that sense. But on the other hand, the money you make of making music today is so ridiculously low. So I mean, you can't afford to get into a studio and record like you used to do back in the 80s. So I mean, in that sense, it's good that it's digital. It's easier to record, and it's cheaper. But some things suffer from it as well. So there are pros and cons with everything.
And I remember too, when I was growing up, when I used to listen to the bands, I'd always talk about, can't wait to get out a demo. We got to get out a demo. And nowadays, you don't hear that at all. You just hear, man, we got to get this single. We got to do this one song. And I'm like, where did it all go? Where did you lose your lack of passion? I mean, not saying a lot of them have, but it just seems like, you know, like you said, back then record deals were earned, as I should say, you know, and it's not like, oh, well, this is as you sound now, we'll sign you. And like you said, they sound nothing live like they do on a record. I mean, nothing like it.
No. But I also think that the thing today is that when you start recording, you don't think of it as a demo today. I think you already when you start recording something, you think of it as this has to be good enough to release. So you put a lot of effort into. I mean, I even do that when I because I have a studio at home as well, and I record a lot of my guitars and stuff in my studio. When I write songs, I immediately try to get a good guitar sound and everything, and do the put the project up in such a way that it's easy to like record drums and bass and stuff, so I don't have to redo things again. So I think that's kind of one of the things with the digital age and the way of recording today. So I think that's also a reason why you don't see that many demos, because when you record, you're doing it to like be good enough to release. So I mean, back in the day when we just took like a couple of microphones or a boombox or a small mixer, or just record live in the rehearsal room. And I have I think I have like 150 songs we wrote with overdrive and overheat recorded that way. That wouldn't be possible to release because of the quality. But today you don't get that kind of raw feeling or like raw recordings, it is kind of a pity.
Yeah, it is. It's just cool to listen to bands talk about the old school ways of recordings. Like, hey, we record this on a 4-track. And it took us almost 2 months to do it, and then we was learning how to use the 4-track and record and things like that. That right there is just like the piece of the pie, man. You know what I mean? It's like that's where the foundation starts, the real good stuff right there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
In your own opinion, Janne, what does Grand Design bring to the table for music that's not out there possibly?
Nothing. No, I mean, to be honest, I mean, we are just trying to take the old ideas and just mix them up a bit and do something possibly new with it. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel or something. So it's not like we're not like a prog metal band that try to bring in 100 new ideas and into one song. I mean, we're just in it we want the songs to be melodic, have a great hook, some tongue-in-cheek stuff, make the audience smile, make fun music.
So tell me what made you want to become a musician. What was that spark for you that said, yeah, that's what I want to do?
I actually started quite early in that sense because my mother had an acoustic guitar and she just could play a few chords and had that guitar lying around at home, and I started like strumming it sometimes. And then two of my older cousins, they were huge fans of the Sweet, and I became a big fan of them quite early on. So then I naturally started playing air guitar, and then my mother had that guitar lying around, so I started like plucking it and trying to learn some things, and then I loved that sound. So once I started, I just I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Tell you what, James Hatfield has nothing on me when it comes to air guitar. Nobody does. Not even you, Janne. Not even you. Is there any moment that stands out to you more than any possibly that you can recall being in any band that you've been in, that you're on stage or you're doing something awesome that you go, wow, this is really worth every minute and every sweat and every tear that I have put into this, what I'm doing right now?
And there's quite a few of those, actually. One thing was actually at the Sweden Rock Festival, because it's in the summer here in Sweden in June, and the Swedish National Day is on June 6th. And I was asked to do like a heavy metal version of the Swedish national anthem. And we had one of Sweden's most well-known comedians, who's also a brilliant jazz drummer. He's actually jammed with Jimi Hendrix here in Sweden. And
wow.
They wanted us to do like a heavy metal version, and he was going to sing it. And we played on the main stage on the Sweden Rock Festival, 30,000 people, everybody singing the song while we were like playing it. We did it like in an Iron Maiden version, so to speak, of the song, and that was really powerful.
Now, we lost an iconic drummer, Vinnie Paul, of the mighty Pantera, hell yeah, Rebel Meets Rebel, and Damage Plan. Do you have any favorite song by Pantera or any of those bands that he was part of, or ever get to meet him and talk to him or anything like that, possibly that you'd like to share?
I actually, I used to write for a bunch of magazines here in Sweden, and I've written for a guitar magazine called Fuzz, and I wrote for Sweden Rock Magazine, and I used to write for a magazine called Metal Zone. And I did an interview with Vinnie Paul when they were here in Sweden, and they were supported by Megadeth then. I did an interview with him, and it was a really, really nice guy. We were sitting actually because they were playing on an arena. We were sitting backstage and talking, and it was really nice, friendly, really, really great guy. And I followed Pantera ever since the first album, Metal Magic. I bought that one, and I Am the Night and Projects in the Jungle. And actually, I love those early albums as well. And then the Power Metal album
Yes,
where Phil Anselmo came into the band.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the I Am the Night album. I know it's more like glammy, melodic, but I mean, Dimebag was already back then. He was an awesome guitar player.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but and Projects in the Jungle, love that one as well. But I like the later stuff as well. Walk is it's one of my favorites. It is.
Isn't it cool when you sit down and you see where that band came from the glam to carrying the torch for fucking heavy metal? I mean, it's like I can't explain it. It's just like they got what it took to say do a total 360-degree turn and go down a different path. And I mean, when Phil came in, I'm not knocking the other lead singer, but when Phil came in, that band had a fucking attitude after that.
Oh, yeah.
Really good, really good. Janne, how can folks stay in touch with you guys? Buy some merchandise. Buy this new album, or buy the new album that's out now on GMR Music. How can they do that?
We have a website, granddesignrocks.com. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. I think we're about everywhere. So if you Google the words Grand Design and Rock, RAWK, I'm sure you'll find us.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Yeah. Hi, this is Janne Stark from Grand Design, the guitarist. You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Rock on!
Everybody stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Thank you so much, Janne.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.